stations in the Great Lakes region for the Coast Guard. There's one here and there's one in Detroit. So at these 2 air stations, we cover search and rescue and law enforcement for the Coast Guard for the entirety of the Great Lakes. Especially in the summertime, there's just a surge of anything from red flares to boats adrift, things that often have a person at the other end of them that needs to be picked up, and sometimes things that don't, like a boat adrift that maybe broke away from a mooring or something like that. Real frequent. Because manned helicopters are expensive and exquisite and take a lot of time and energy and expense to maintain. Unmanned systems are the way to go to get after a lot of these cases, especially in the summer. So out of here, this summer, probably in August, we're planning to run a couple exercises in this area with what's called a Puma. And I'm going to show you the pictures, but I'm not sure if I can get it from the iPad up here yet, because that isn't up the rig screen. But basically, a Puma is like a fixed-wing, battery-powered unmanned aerial system that can fly for between 6 and 8 hours, with the long-range version up to 12. And by positioning these at a few high-density search and rescue locations, so think Chicago, like the Muskegon, Waukegan area, a couple other spots, one up in Superior. We can use these systems to conduct a lot of the search that helicopters have to do, and get after cases that a lot quicker that often just take a long time to get to. So we're hoping to take the search out of search and rescue for a lot of the aerial assets with these systems. The first test that we'll be doing towards the end of the summer in August is going to be out of Grayling, so Camp Grayling. There's going to be a sort of viability test out of there. That's going to include some comms and some radio interference stuff, and then push up to Lake Michigan to do a 3-day test on the water to see how well these sensors work for finding people in the water. So if that test is successful, and we think it will be because these are systems that we've used for a long time, then our plan is to test them again in the fall and start preparing to use them for ice operations this winter. To find ice to protect shipping, and then to be able to scale up to a few systems to start out of Traverse City for the next summer to do search and rescue Grand Traverse Bay, and then a little bit to the west on Lake Michigan to really dial in the procedures. And if that works well next summer, the plan is to get more of them and have more of them on the Great Lakes to cover down, especially Lake Michigan. So I wanted to thank Kevin and the team at the airport, who's been very helpful with helping us understand how to use these and deconflict from traffic. We don't think there's going to be any deconfliction issues with traffic. These things all fly 400 feet below, and they don't all necessarily have to be launched from the airport. They can be launched remotely somewhere else. So I threw a lot of stuff out there. I didn't give any pretty pictures. So
that's on Jack's. Is there like a video play?
yeah, it should just mirror. I'm not sure why it's not mirroring right now. Yeah. But we will be putting out some publicly available information about this because obviously people get, understandably uneasy about unmanned systems flying around. So we're going to be getting after that by putting stuff out on social media and press releases so that the public understands what we're doing, and identify these things with markings so that it's clear, hey, this is Coast Guard stuff. We're out here trying to find people in distress. If there's any questions for me right now, I'd love to answer them.
Couple questions. How big are these drones?
Yeah, so there's two sizes.
I'm looking at the one out here mowing their lawn.
Yeah, interactive, yeah. It's the same one. Those will not be funny female. So there's two versions. One has a wingspan about this wide, about a human's, arm span, and that's the 4 to 6 hour time or endurance. And then there's another version that has about twice the length or twice the width wingspan that has about an 8 to 10 hour endurance.
And they're visual only, they're not dropping off light rain or anything like that, it's just to get eyes on it.
Correct. I mean, there are systems that can do all of that, but getting those to fit into the FAA system and to really to be able to use them beyond visual line of sight, they're just not there yet. And so we have a very crawl, walk, run approach here in this region to first just use them to find people and things in the water that are trying to be found. So we can send a helicopter or a boat out to them.
So are these fixed wing or?
These are fixed wing, not quadcopters.
Okay.
There will be some quadcopters, but those are going to be mostly, for us, it'll be mostly for training. So if you can fly a small system, you can scale it up to a bigger system. It's not like flying an airplane.
How many will you ultimately have, as an example, here, and are they actually flown from here?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that yet, because this really is step by step. We don't actually need to base these shorter range systems out of here. We just need to test them out of here because we have a lot of qualified pilots and aircrew who can operate these safely and develop the procedures and the tactics to use them safely. And then push those smaller systems, train and equip people, the coasties around the lakes to use them. But if there is a larger system coming, which we have nothing on record for that right now. But yeah, this would be an ideal location for those systems to be.
We agree.
Are they fuel or battery powered?
These are battery powered. The medium range systems are either one. Some are fuel cells, some are like 100 low lead, some use diesel, some use a variety of things.
And what height do they fly? Did you say 400 feet?
Yes, so these are all operating under Part 107 rules. So this is short range system, short range rules, line of sight rules, 400 feet and below. But we've been working with the FAA to successfully get waivers to operate these beyond visual line of sight, but still 400 feet and below. So we're going to operate first in this experiment, in this test, just outside of beyond visual line of sight, to where we can still easily recover them if something goes wrong. Just really understanding how we can employ these systems beyond visual line of sight, because the FAA rules are not out for that yet. Those don't exist. That Part 108, that doesn't exist yet.
Where will the pilots be? Other drones?
Yeah, so initially they'll be, wherever the drone is launched, they'll be in that location. In watching on screen, they'll have an iPad with something like ForeFlight, if you're familiar with that, to track where it is. But they'll be there wherever they launch and recover it. For the exercises, they'll be out of Grayling. Hopefully next spring that'll be out here.
Hey Ryan, are there daytime, nighttime limitations, weather limitations?
There are weather limitations because these are beyond visual line of, or these are visual line of sight. We're just sort of stepping into this beyond visual line of sight. We're going to be limited by weather at first. Yeah, for sure. But I mean, the time when you really need these is the summer, where the weather's typically a lot better. So
The helicopters at the other end of the region.
yeah, that's right. That's right. That's it. Any other questions? Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see.
Kevin, a direct grant letter from MDOT.
So this is a communication we received in the April, and it's in reference to the contributions to the 26th federal grant year that Michigan has come up with, because they're short on funds, that they're only contributing up to a maximum of $1 million for any airport in the fiscal year, any one airport in the fiscal year. So with the applications that we have and some of the discretionary funds, the state is telling us they'll be only contributing $1 million versus the typical 5%. So, which when we look at our grant projects alone this year, I'm looking for a number, would be, state contribution would probably be in the 1.8 to 2 million, not quite the full project based on what our grants are. So, not surprising, because our, state funding has been the same since 1929. It hasn't really changed. It's been 3 cents per gallon on fuel tax And then, of course, in 1946, they issued a rebate to the airlines of $0.015 if you're flying within the state. So, not surprising that it hasn't kept up with inflation. We did try to do something in 2016 where we recaptured by federal law the 2% on the sales tax of aviation goods to go back to the state aeronautics. That was required by federal law to correct that. And they did that, so we did capture that, but we're generating just a little less than $7 million for the aeronautics fund. And so the state is struggling to keep up with theirs. Detroit Metro has already introduced legislation to break from the Channeling Act to go out on their own. And we're starting to see other airports, since the state isn't able to contribute, to consider that. So something we may consider. So I wanted to bring this forward. I did testify. You'll see that I testified in front of the House Transportation Appropriations Committee. And we're trying to get some funding, whether it's through the CTF fund or others, to be brought in to aeronautics. But I think that is got an uphill battle.
Reports of standing committees. First, we have the meeting minutes of the Finance Committee meeting from June 16th. Need a motion to approve those, and then I think there are a number of items within the minutes that need to be approved.
Chair, but
Yeah, I mean, the finance committee met on, as you said, Tuesday, June 16th at 9:30. For basically two items. One was to look at the draft audit as Lynn presented, and she will present that here today, hopefully.
Yes.
And the other thing was the number 2 gate passenger boarding bridge replacement, which was sort of an emergency thing that we had to look at. And so we went through those, listened to it, and brought those both forward to this board, hopefully as a recommendation.
I move to approve the minutes.
Support.
As presented.
Got a motion, it's been supported. Is there discussion for or against the motion? All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. And then, audit? Chris, you're on deck here.
All right. I was told to stand on here, since there's no podium. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Sorry, this is going to be far less interesting than the drone stuff, but I am going to review your financial statements briefly. So we did meet with the finance committee. We went in much more depth than what I'm going to go through today. I'll just focus on a couple items from the audit report, and then we'll flip over to the graphs. You should have printed copies in front of you that I'll be reading from. Page numbers are at the bottom right hand of the page, so I'll direct you that way. You can flip into the main audit report, which is the big one bound with the black on the side. Flip over to page number 2. This is should be headed the Independent Auditor's Report. So this report is all standard boilerplate language. I'm just going to focus on a couple highlights through here. In the second paragraph, under the opinions section towards the top, we do issue what is called an unmodified opinion or a clean opinion on these financial statements. So ultimately, that is the highest level of assurance that we can provide on a set of financial statements. So we do commend you yet again for achieving that level of service in the year. Under the basis of opinions section, we do remind you that we conducted our audit in accordance with the auditing standards generally accepted in the United States of America, and also government auditing standards are applicable for your audit as well. Management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of these financial statements in accordance with GAAP. Flipping over to page number 3, under the auditor's responsibilities. So our objective with an audit is to obtain reasonable assurance about whether or not these financial statements are free from material misstatement, and to issue a report that includes our opinion, which is what I'm reading from right now. Page number 4 addresses several elements to these financial statements. There's required supplementary information, there's supplemental information, there's other information, and then flipping over onto page number 5, there's also additional reporting that's required under government auditing standards. All of that is fair and reasonably presented. Also included in this audit packet is, towards the back, there's a required audit for your PFC, your passenger facility charge revenues, and there were no findings or issues with that audit. There is also, as I mentioned, government auditing standards apply, and so as a part of that portion of your audit, that might reveal non-compliance with laws or regulations or something along those lines, and there was nothing that came to our attention through the audit process. And then last but not least is an audit of your federal awards. Your single audit is what it's often referred to. We do have one instance of immaterial non-compliance that is reported in the back of these financial statements. And what that really related to was timing of some grant reports that were required to be submitted, and those were submitted late. There was some extenuating circumstances that basically the data wasn't available to be able to populate the reports in order to turn them in on time. So our understanding was really no recourse from that issue, and that's why it's presented as an immaterial non-compliance and a part of these financial statements. We are obligated to report that, but ultimately immaterial non-compliance. Any questions on any of that? All right, then I'll direct your attention to page number 7. This is a part of the management's discussion and analysis. Figure 8.1 there is the condensed statement of net positions. So this is effectively your balance sheet at a summarized level. So for 2025, total assets and deferred outflows of resources were the $118 million. And that was about a $10.9 million increase over 2024. Your total liabilities and deferred inflows of resources were about $12.5 million. That was about a $231,000 increase over 2024. And then total net position, which is effectively your equity, your accumulation of earnings over time, was $106.3 million. And that was about a $10.7 million increase over 2024. Flipping over to page number 8, that figure 8.2 there, the condensed statements of revenues, expenses, and changes in that position. This is effectively your balance sheet. Again, focusing on 2025, so total operating revenue for the airport was $13.5 million for 2025. Your operating expenses were $16.1 million. Your other non-operating revenues, that net value there is about $738,000. And then your capital contributions and charges, which is going to include your PFC, your CFC, and also your capital grants that you receive, both federal and state portions. That came to about $12.5 million. And so the net effect there, that change in that position, is that $10.7 million for 2025. Any questions? All right, then I will direct your attention away from that packet and we'll move to the graphs. This is maybe a little bit easier on the eyes for digesting some of the numbers in this financial report. So first graph in is just passenger movements, of course, very fascinating data here. 2025 is on the far right, and total passenger movement for 2025 is 936,000 passengers. Flipping over to the next page is going to be operating revenues. So for 2025, let's see, the 2025 data is in yellow, so on the far right for each one of these categories. So rental income for 2025 was about $3.5 million. Rent-a-car concessions were about $2.8 million for 2025. Parking fees were about $4.9 million for 2025. Landing fees about $1.2 million. And you can see how the aviation and other categories, the grants category is actually 0 for 2025. That's operating grants, which you did not receive any of in 2025. Flipping over to the next graph is going to be the same points of data for operating revenues, for 2025, and how those revenues make up a piece of the pie, really. So biggest portion here is the pink, which is your parking, and that's about 36% of total revenues for 2025. Other large sections are the rental income at about 27%, or about $3.5 million. The rent-a-car concessions there in the yellow, about 2.8, and about 20% of total revenues for 2025. Flipping over to the next graph should be headed capital contributions. So this is going to be your revenue for PFC, CFC, and also your capital grants, so your federal and state grants that you receive. 2025 is there on the left, so about 12.6 million for 2025 in capital grants. Capital contributions. Next graph is going to focus on expenses. So this graph, 2025 is in blue on the left side. So depreciation for 2025 is about 3.9 million. Personnel costs, which is going to include your salaries, benefits, the police department now, about 5.6 million for 2025. Purchase services, they're about 3.5 million. That's going to be your advertising, your engineering, your fire contract is included in that category. Next graph over is going to be operating expenses and how those make up pieces of pie again. So personnel costs there in the dark blue, I guess, about 35% of that 5.6 million. Depreciation there is in the red at about 24% total expenses for 2025. And then purchase services there makes up about 21% in the yellow. And then last but not least is an unrestricted net position graph. So this details kind of a 5-year trend of net position available for general operations. So your accumulated earnings that's available to meet general operations, not earmarked for certain purposes, is ultimately what this is telling you. So 2025 is there on the right, just shy of 20 million of unrestricted net position. And so you can kind of see the growth between 2021 and 2023. That's when there was a lot of the COVID era funding, CARES Act, CRISA Act, that really contributed to this unrestricted net position. And since then, you've pretty much hovered right around 20 million or so in that unrestricted. Any other questions that I can answer for you? All right. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Mark and finance team. Thanks again for another great audit. And I know it's a lot of work, but we really appreciate it. I know you guys are really paying very close attention to this, so we thank you very much for that. Do we need to accept or approve those? Get a motion to accept the 2025 audit.
So, support.
Got a motion, it's been supported. Is there discussion for or against the motion? All those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Anything else under finance, Kevin?
Resolution 2026-56 to approve change order 1 with the Chrisman Company for Gate 2 passenger boarding bridge replacement. It was discussed at finance, and this was because of the fact that Gate 2 encountered some electrical issues with Delta, and they could not get the computer replaced when operating. And so without considerable delay in timing of the project, so we looked at various alternatives, and we came in with an alternative to fix it by using a different company, which was about, in rough numbers, $74,000. However, it wouldn't be repaired to almost the end of summer, past the peak summer travel season. The company that was doing the work had taken delivery or taken ownership of a spare bridge from Omaha, and they had offered that bridge to us as a replacement. The cost of that was $407,000 to bring that on and install that. So we worked with Delta to apply what they would have had to pay for in that $74,000 towards the bridge. And then also we'll look to put that into the rates and charges of the carriers, because now we'll have a bridge that we can hang on the end of the deep concourse to eventually have 5 total bridges. So we had to act quickly to be able to get it here and hang it so we could have it available for the first, or I'll say the peak schedule change. that took place over the weekend. So we moved quickly on that, brought it to finance and also discussed it.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve resolution number 2026-56 as recommended by the Finance Committee.
Support.
Got a motion, been supported. Is there discussion for or against the motion? Any other questions?
I just wondered if that had all got placed and it worked out.
Yep, I've got a photo of it for you. I can bring it up now if you want.
That would be good.
If you can't go right in.
I would just like, as he's doing that, I would just like to point out, when we talked about this in buildings and ground, this would have been a $1.23 million.
Correct. We would have bought a brand new bridge.
We're getting
$1.4
$400,000, so we're actually saving quite a bit of money down the road on the new terminal.
Yeah, and when, we will put some refurbishments on it prior to it being installed, but it will.
So do I understand it replaced Bridge 2?
Correct.
And we're gonna refurbish Bridge 2?
No, the bridge 2 is done.
Okay.
This bridge will be as you can see, it's a tan color versus a white color. So we'll repaint it. We'll put our style of flooring in because they have carpet in here. We usually use a rubber flooring because of winter weather. So there'll be some adjustments.
Are there potentially parts and pieces that we can use?
Yes, we're gonna be using the air conditioning unit and the ground power unit off of the Yep.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor. Is there any further discussion?
I didn't hear the second.
Well, second.
Well, second. Okay, thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Now we've got the meeting minutes of the Building and Grounds Committee, meeting of June 17th.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We met on June 17th to discuss two items. One was the bridge we just approved, so I won't go into detail on that. I do believe down the road, though, this will save us a lot of money for a fifth bridge on the new terminal. So this was actually kind of a win-win for us, an unexpected win-win for us. As far as the second item we discussed was Resolution 2026-57, which was the concessionaire for the RFP process for the Concourse B. We reviewed a proposal from Country Cafe. They were the only bidder on this. Their idea is the Dune Barrel Northern Michigan Bar and Cafe. If you've looked in your packet, there's quite a bit of extensive
Standing committees, first we have.
really background in what it's going to look like. Ron and Cindy and their son have put together, Nick have put together. It's a really, I would say, great proposal based on what we saw. And some pictures in here. Okay, good. The pictures are phenomenal. I think it's going to be a fantastic setup for the new terminal. And we did spend quite a bit of time going through it. The one thing that I guess I will really point out from the proposal is they use a lot of local vendors. They use a lot of local product, and they use, they're very supportive of all the different local, community businesses that you'll see in their business. So I was really pleased with that, to see the diversity that they're going to use with local businesses to be able to supply product and basic food and beverages for our passengers.
All those in favor will say aye. We need minutes and then
57, and then
2026-57. Okay, motion approved in minutes.
Well, I just wondered if it's Dune Barrel or Dune Bar. The pictures say Dune Bar.
It's the Dune Barrel.
It's the Dune Barrel.
There was some name changes as we were going through things to figure out what was the best.
So they are going to use local whiskey providers, and they're going to have different opportunities for people to participate in the bar.
Motion to approve the meeting minutes of Building and Grounds. Motion is supported. Is there further discussion? All those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. And then we have the resolution 2026-57, approve the RFP for the concession area.
This will be to bring back, it's to approve the negotiation with staff, negotiate the lease.
The motion is supported. Further discussion? All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. We have no special committee, no unfinished business. New business item number 1 is resolution 2026-62 to approve the design, other transportation agreement with Transportation Security Administration for checked baggage inspection system.
As you remember earlier this year, we received notice from the TVC that we met the criteria for what we call a full inline system or full CVS check baggage inspection system with that. And so when you think about this project, think about the skeleton of the building is our responsibility, and the nuts and bolts of the system is the TSA's responsibility. So when we go and work with them, we have to put forward the ability to design and bring in consultants to do that, and put that package together, which TSA will pay 95% of that design. And then you have the remaining portion. And so that design we work with because we went through the selection criteria for engineers. Lee Hunt was selected as that, as you know already. So we have done the design for the system using a subcontract law plan to develop the scope of fee, and has provided that scope of fee for the total contract for the system is 700. The design is 780,020, with being reversed at 749,000.
So our understanding was really the reports from that.
We recommend that you move forward.
And that's why it's
And the difference between any system and a full system, any system is two machines, but a full system.
Any questions on any of that? All right.
Motion to approve resolution 02662. Someone support the motion and support it. Is there further discussion? All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Resolution 2026-63 is to approve the design task order with Mead Hunt for the checked baggage inspections.
Total liabilities.
Okay, so with the approval of the CVIS that was just done, now you have to look at the scope of fee and reasonable costs and boundary boundaries.
And then total net.
And so we saw that, but the non-TSA portion, or what we talked about, is the rest of the skeleton that goes to that. And I want to be careful that everybody understands, because the costs are very similar. That portion is $735. So you have the inclusion of the previous one, previous 780, and then you'll have the approval of this at 735,000. So those are the ads. Our cost, we want to know our total cost would be $741,399 plus 735 for almost 25. And there's something about,
Well, I was just gonna say, just an additional note with the things that we're paying for. We've also tasked Mead Hunt with some planning exercises for expanding ticket counters and some restrooms on the east side. So there are, in addition to baggage, there are some other things that we're planning ahead for as we look to expand to the east. Because that's where this inline baggage system.
Maybe a little bit easier on guys.
Can I have a motion to approve 2026-63?
So first, right in is asking for support very fast.
Moved and supported. Is there further discussion? favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Resolution 2026-64 to approve change order number 2, M&M Excavating Terminal Apron Expansion Package.
All right, well, I love it when
This is a reduction,
it's a
isn't it?
reduction of 33,063. As our M&M Excavating provided some cost value alternatives for temporary roadways, drainage work, and we've gone to the site and done some work. So we greatly appreciate their putting this together. So it is a reduction of that package fee for a credit of $32,600.
Let's make that motion.
I will. 2026-64.
Support.
The motion and supported, is there further discussion?
Yeah, question if I could, I know there was some concern about this contract when we initially approved it, with prior experience. How is it going?
Great, wonderful, especially when it's bringing in reductions. But no, that's the relationship we've had with them over the years. We've done multiple projects across the years. And they really work to value engineer to make sure that they come up with plans. And so we've been very happy with them. Lots of great experience.
Yeah, and just to clarify, the only issue, we've had great relationships with M&M. They have a subcontractor who has some future work that we'll be evaluating moving forward. That was the only question, that question.
So are you saying they've done some work with subcontractor?
Not
Already.
not yet. No, that won't occur until next year.
Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. We have Resolution 2026-65, approved commercial addendum with AeroCloud for common use passenger processing solution.
Okay, so we've been negotiating with the airlines. We're looking at, we have common airline use case that we can narrow down the amount of IT equipment that is at pays. And we have AeroCloud that the airport uses already for our scheduling software that we handle inbound air traffic at the right gates. And AeroCloud also produces a common use processing solution for the airlines at the gates, also at the ticket counters. And so one of the things that through this negotiation the carriers asked for is to go to a common use platform. So we went out and we looked at various bids from others, and when we came back to the solution, they kept bringing back to AeroCloud. This is what was recommended by the airlines, this is what was recommended by the others, and so we're looking to roll that into our costs going forward. And so the cost of the license of hardware for 1 year is $78,750. 5-year agreement, and then some of the investments equipment costs. So the total value of the agreement is $220,790.60, which will be put in the course of the budget.
Mr. Chair, I move to accept 2026-65.
Any other questions that I can answer for you?
Got a motion to approve 2026-65, has been supported. Is there further discussion?
I just wondered, is this going to be like a square footage will be figured or?
Correct. Both using the gates, the charges.
And then all the airlines will be into this system?
The ones that use the common use gates, so those are typical seasonal services. So, the ability to expand it to others, once we get the platform up and going, legacy carriers have used this discussion for this motion, so that could be a trend. All their people will say aye. And then we'll go further to the investors, we'll wait and see that. They like their proprietary stuff.
So just to clarify, actually the system will include those systems for the legacy carriers, but to Kevin's point, they're just choosing to use their own stuff. So for instance, if Delta, United, or American would like to use that gate, they could use the hardware on that gate if they so chose.
still gonna use their own.
They're still gonna use their own on all their, gates, yeah.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, we've got just a few minutes. Kevin directed me to try and be done by 4 for the ribbon cutting for athletes. Kevin,
I'm hustling
you
here.
want to
I'm
hustle
hustling.
through your activities
Absolutely.
report?
Lots of good things happened, so I just want to touch base on a few of them. The Michigan Association of Airport Executives held their Airport 101 class for about 15 different airports that we held it here at the airport. And that really allows board members, new airport managers, a lot of the smaller airports that might be run by townships or villages, for those village managers to get good exposure. So Stephanie Ward from Union Hunt, I'll say the professor of that, but she tasked us to also do some various subject matters. So we presented both not only on airport operations, we also had to act quickly, public hearings, public information, etc. So that was a lot of fun. Meeting with the Traverse City individuals with John Spelter, the head there. We talked about all kinds of questions, airports, airlines, etc. It was a great meeting. FAA held their runway safety action team, or RSAT meeting on the 3rd. And so Dan and the ops team handled that here. While I drove down to Lansing and I testified in front of the Michigan House State and Local Transportation Appropriations Committee regarding funding for airports. I also had a chance to meet with Rep. Covia, Rep. Roth, Rep. Fairbarn, and Senator Lewis at their office. I didn't get into Senator The next day I met with the Michigan Senate Democrat, a handful there. Again, talking about Denver Airport, and also our legislative spend a request that we've submitted. So we continue to work through those requests that we have. Meeting with the Federal Security Director, that's our quarterly meeting. Ridge talked a lot about event planning and stuff that happened. From Cherry Festival to 5K, to any of the events, the pancake breakfasts, so that was a big success. Met with the new fire chief from the city, and so was able to meet with Aaron and tour our fire department, so that was great. On the 9th, Leelanau County Executive Board meeting took place and voted on the resolution that the city of Traverse City put forth to join the airport board. Leelanau County voted 7-0 against that. Commissioner Bonner, I don't know if you want to share it.
Well, it was a little bit tricky how to actually make a motion and then vote negative. So that was, so when I made the motion, I said, to oppose and say no, support and say yes. And so I wasn't supporting it, I was just giving the options, so that there was a motion and then a second. And so then they knew which way to vote, or how they would vote. You know, yes would be yes, and no, you know. And I argued that you have to always do motions. Whether you're yes, yes, no.
So with that action taken, even if it does go before Grand Traverse County Board, if they were to vote yes for it, it would in dispute per FAA regulations, as codified by Congress under the 2024 Reauthorization Act. If it's in dispute, the FAA will not take that route. So at this point, with it being voted no, there is no consent needed from the airport authority or any action taken by Traverse County. So at this point, that issue is going. Moving forward, we had a meeting with Delta Airlines and their performance team. They came and reviewed some things going on this summer, the K2 project and different things. So that was a great meeting. We also met with TIFIA, with the the Build America Bureau group, getting updates on that because there's some new legislation coming through. And we had extensive discussions on applying for that, which we could do in early 2027 for all these local funds there. Met with City Commissioner Laura Ness. Of course, we talked at length about the city and the opportunities with the airport authority and things going on. We also talked about the tree project, working together and building relationships to get those projects going. And that requires task force, or whatever it may be, the openness between airports and the city working. So that's great. Also, the Michigan House of Representatives Regulatory Reform Committee, the Michigan Association of Airport Executives testified, but also Ron Lincoln testified here, and that was regarding the allowable hours of sale of alcohol. What we're seeing at airports is whether it's charter flights that happen in the middle of the night, or our particular flights, we have a handful of flights that launch in the morning, that there's no alcohol sales allowed. What we find is troubling is the fact that we do a lot of local wine sales. We actually sell wine bottles for gifts, different things that people want to take. And they believe because they can't bring it through the security checkpoint, buy a bottle of wine on the other side. However, they find out at 8:30 in the morning they can't do that. So it's been disappointing. And so they're looking to change allowable hours of sale of alcohol post the security check motion is supported. So that's what House Bill 518 and Ron testified. I was able to keep quiet this watch. That was fun. We did have a tour scheduled, but that got canceled after the package went out for gubernatorial candidate John James. They'll reschedule that. I met with the city manager on Monday, again discussing the authority and also the, as you remember earlier this year, we've been going forward and working on certain projects that open up there. Very positive discussion, and we'll continue to work through those. I'm going as fast as
That's the 5-minute warning.
That's the 5-minute warning.
5-minute warning.
I'm going.
Ice cream.
There you go. I got just 3 more things, and we'll go really quick.
I thought one of those drones was flying.
I had a meeting with Sarasota Bradenton International Airport SRQ, Paul Holbach. One of the things that we really want to work on close together, trying to link back SRQ and TVC. We had service years ago, and we're trying to work on that. So we had some idea sharing and information sharing, and we're both going to work on that opportunity. We had our airline meeting, a lease meeting today, discussing what the new leases will look like. I think it was very positive. Hopefully we'll have all the financial stuff wrapped up in the next 30 days, and then the final lease language wrapped up this fall.
Just wondering how those go. Do you come to them with a lease, or do they come to you with a lease? How do those work?
We came with a framework of a lease and a financial package, and then we go back and forth. They typically bring in other examples or other agreements that they've had in the past that they like. And of course, then they will, use their negotiating tactics to try to lower our fees as much as possible. But really, at the end of the day, our costs are pretty evident with the bonds and everything else, that they know we have to come up with a financial formula of how it is set by our ordinance now, and of course our covenants and our funds. So everybody's well aware of that. They just want to slice the pie a little bit differently. Put more costs on those that do seasonal work. That's really what we're working on. Is that type of there. So that's the activities report. Operations report, I'll jump right into. And our passenger movements for the month of May were up 13%. We had 71,199 total passengers, which makes us positive to the year, up 1%, over last year's record year. So looking forward to a great summer. The activities are
Awesome. You've got the accounts receivable, you're on top of that, thank you.
Just one, you mentioned Davis Budget Group, we issued them some access cards. Let's go through the process, so that one will get caught up with.
Very good. And then, Will, any comments on the budget report?
Well, yeah, we're just still a little bit behind in the middle of the rough winter, you know, and the last snowfall. So Heather believes we'll be in the profit by this one.
Okay. All right, very good. Is there any general public comment on anything?
I can give public comment for the county road commission. I'll move quick. Dan has ice cream, right?
Okay.
Got
Got a minute.
I got 1 minute, timer set. Hammond Road, going out for bid this week. We have a couple week process to receive them. We are holding a special meeting July 9th to try to get our bids accepted and get work going. That's expected to be a couple month project. We had hoped to start things a little earlier, but you guys may have noticed we had a couple storms or so, and you know, we're working hard on getting things back on a timeline. It looks like the project will not be completed before school ends like we had wanted to, so we are going to work backwards of what we normally do from west to east to east to west, so that we can hopefully get a good part of it done before school starts. And get that going. So that should be happening soon, I hope, on Hammond Road. I know this isn't, and that obviously directly involves you at the airport, because as with most large-scale local projects, we have a scheduled detour. And you guys may remember that we wanted to do some upgrades to Town Line Road. Your board was involved in that with a resolution of support. But it required the buy-in from the townships around it, as we aren't able to fully fund those types of projects. We didn't get that kind of support financially from the townships. So we moved forward with what we kind of called a Band-Aid repair, if you remember. It's better. You can drink a cup of coffee on the road now while you're drinking. It's better. But it is not to the point where we would be comfortable making it an official detour for a road with traffic like Hammond. So the detour will be South Airport Road, coming in either direction to the airport from Garfield or 3 Mile, but we will be closing Town Line to through traffic. Not all traffic, just through traffic. So while Hammond is under construction, we don't want to see people heading to the airport, coming off of Hammond and driving on Town Line all the way there through. We want them to go around on the official detour, because we're trying to get as many months and years out of our fix as we could on Town Line, and we can't handle that.
When you have that official detour published,
Yes.
we'll put it up on our website.
Yes,
social
we
media.
happen to share the same communications company, so I love that for us, and we will do that. So that is one thing to consider. Another thing I kind of had a quick talk with Bob about is, as you know, we are part of an MPO. The MPO is split between Lebanon County Road Commission, the City of Traverse City Streets Department, and the Grand Traverse County Road Commission, which means every 3 years, the County Road Commission here is up for the recipient of funds for the MPO projects. The MPO project this year is for Grand Traverse County. It's our year, just rotates every 3 years. But unfortunately, due to the storms, we had to change our MPO project. It was Cass Road, and because of Bigner being closed through the season, we couldn't also close Cass Road for the obvious reason. So we are swapping with our partners, and another MPO project will be done this year, and Cass will be done next year, when hopefully everything is well and good and we're back open. But that was a project that was left over from prior to us becoming an MPO. Coming up in 3 years, our next time we're on the docket for an MPO funding round will be our first time we're starting from scratch. And I, along with many people, would love to see South Airport Road in front of the airport between 3 Mile and Garfield be considered for the MPO project. It needs to be widened. We probably can't purchase enough land and homes to widen it to match South Airport, but it could have a good curb and gutter project. Bob kind of knows about that, and we would love to see some support for that area getting MPO dollars. I think the MPO projects need to be regional in nature, and our airport is regional in nature. So I'm hoping Bob has. And the last thing is, you guys are the first to hear it. We're just writing the press release for it now. But the state of Michigan heard all of our pleas and has moved up the Beitner Bridge project to the July letting, instead of waiting till the end of August. So what that means is we are still on the same timeline that we had originally put out. We were hoping to have this at the latest as a Christmas gift for all of us, but maybe even opening day of deer season gift, sometime between there. So that was great, and we want to thank all of our legislators and local elected officials that helped us with letters of support and getting MDOT to move us forward. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any other comments from the public? If not, are there any board member comments?
We've talked about this before, and I think it's time to look into the true cost of like live streaming our meetings.
Yeah, we are. We're actually do. We have costs coming in. Matt, to provide us some information. So yes, we will have something to present.
Live stream.
Yeah, it's been, we have some stuff that we need to work through. Hearing it clearly a priority, so yes, we'll make some stuff happen.
Thank you.
We've kicked the can down the road.
I agree.
Yep. No, we're on it. We're working on it. We've met with the team.
Don't have all.
The July possible.
Yep.
Or as soon as
That's what I'm
possible.
hearing. How about that?
That's what we heard also.
Are there any other member comments?
I just want to say to the staff, as you're heading into the busy season, giddy up. And
Lots of good things happen.
I hope things are smooth for you, but thanks for all your hard work. Next busy season.
10 seconds, if I will. I want to be a little more than a footnote in this meeting, that the diligence of our staff, the Kevin, I believe, saved the airport, the passengers, the taxpayers that own it, over $1 million. And just like, that passenger bridge, like, it's a footnote, and we get criticism about salary ranges. It's like, this is a footnote in 1 week of their work. And this is an awesome crackerjack team. I mean, they are just out of sight, knocking it out of the park. And I just want to applaud you and thank you. I didn't want it to go unnoticed. That just a random thing during the week saves everybody $1 million. And this isn't an isolated event, so thank you.
Thank you, Rob. All set. Any other board member comments? If not, we are adjourned at 4:05.
Good afternoon.
I do. I got work to do.
I mean, they could work out a deal with you for listing their property. For sure. Oh, yeah, I saw that. Yeah, no, that's not what it is. I think a lot of people they have no idea. Yeah, okay. I would ask for a reasonable accommodation.
Met with the new fire chief from the city, and so was able to meet with Aaron and tour our fire departments. On the 9th, Lindenau County Executive Board meeting took place and voted on the resolution that the city of Traverse City put forth, joined
it was a little bit tricky how to, actually make a motion and then vote negative on it. So that was, so when I made the motion, I said to oppose and say no, to support and say yes. And so I wasn't supporting it, I was just giving the options. So that there was a motion and then a second. And so then they knew which way to vote, or how they would vote. Yes would be yes and a no would be no. And I really believe that we have to always do motions where yes means yes and no means no. I think that's the proper.
So with that action taken, even if it does go before Grand Traverse County Board, if they were to vote yes for it, we would put it in dispute. And with it in dispute, per FAA regulations, and was codified by Congress under the 2024 Reauthorization Act, if it's in dispute, the FAA will not take the matter up. So at this point, with the team vote is down, there is no consent needed from the airport authority or any action taken by Grand County. So at this point, that issue is closed. Moving forward, we had a meeting with Delta Airlines and their performance team. They came and reviewed some of the things going on in the summer, the 2 projects and different things. So that was a great meeting. We also met with TIFIA, with the Build America Bureau group, getting updates on that because there's some new legislation coming through. And we had extensive discussions on applying for that, which was due in early 2027 for the conclusion of those funds that are there. Met with City Commissioner Laura Ness. Of course, we talked at length about the city and opportunities of the airport authority and the different things going on. We also talked about the tree project and working together and building relationships with those projects going, and if that requires task force or boards or whatever it could be, the openness between airports and the city to work on that. So that was great. Also, the Michigan House of Representatives Regulatory Reform Committee and Michigan Association of Airport Executives testified, but also Ron Limpool testified here, and that was regarding the allowable hours of sale of alcohol. What we're seeing at airports is whether it's charter flights that happen in the middle of the night, or our particular flights, we have a handful of flights that launch in the morning, and there's no alcohol sales allowed. What we find is troubling is the fact that we do a lot of local wine sales, and we actually sell, wine bottles or gifts, different things that people want to take, and they believe because they can't bring it through the security checkpoint, they can just buy a bottle of wine on the other side. However, they find out at 6:30 in the morning they can do that, so it's been disappointing, and so they're looking to change allowable hours for the sale of alcohol post the security checkpoint. So that's what House Bill 5518 and Ron testified on that. I was able to keep quiet and watch, so that was fun. We did have a tour scheduled, but that got canceled after the package went out. For gubernatorial candidate John James, so we scheduled that for another time. We went to tour the construction project. I met with the city manager on Monday, again discussing the authority and also the going forward and working on some projects that are open up there. Very positive discussion, and we'll continue to go through those. I'm going as fast as I can. That's the 5-minute warning. That's the 5-minute warning. 5-minute warning. I'm going ice cream. There you go. I got just 3 more things, and we'll go really quick.
I thought one of those drones was flying over.
I had a meeting with Sarasota Bradenton's International Airport, SRQ, Paul Holbach. One of the things that we really want to work on close together is trying to link back SRQ and TVC. We had service with Elite years ago, and we're trying to work on that. So we had some idea sharing and information sharing, and we're both going to work on that. that opportunity. We had our airline meeting, a lease meeting today, discussing what the new leases will look like. I think it was very positive. Hopefully, we'll have all the financial stuff wrapped up in the next 30 days, and then the final lease language wrapped up here this fall.
Just wondering how those go. Do you come to them with a lease, or do they come to you with a lease? How do those work?
We came with a framework of the lease and a financial package, and then we go back and forth. They typically bring in other examples from other agreements that they've had in the past that they like. And of course, then they will, use their negotiating tactics to try to lower our fees as much as possible. But really, at the end of the day, our costs are pretty evident with the bonds and everything else, that they know we have to come up with that financial formula in a couple of ways. It's set by our ordinance now, and of course, our covenants and our policy. So everybody's well aware of that. We just want to slice the pie a little bit differently, put more cost on to those that do seasonal work versus those that are doing. So that's really what we're working on. Is that premium for those that are there. So that's the activities report. Operations report, I'll jump right into. And our passenger movements for the month of May were up 13%. We had 71,199 total passengers, which makes us positive to the year, up 1% over last year's record year. So looking forward to a great summer, great business summer with the activities report.
Awesome. We've got the accounts receivable. You're on top of that. Thank you.
Just wanted to mention, David's budget group, we issued them some access cards. That's going through the process, so that one will get caught up in the couple of
Very good. And then, Will, any comments on budget report?
Well, yeah, we're just still a little bit behind because of the rough winter, and the last snowfall. So I believe we'll be in the profit.
All right, very good. Is there any general public comment on anything?
I think it's public comment for the county road commission. I'll move quick. Dan has ice cream.
Got a minute.
I got 1 minute, timer set. Hammond Road, going out for bid this week. We have a couple week process to receive them. We are holding a special meeting July 9th to try to get our bids accepted and get work going. That's expected to be a couple month project. We had hoped to start things a little earlier, but you guys may have noticed we had a couple storms or so, and we're working hard on getting things back on a timeline. It looks like the project will not be completed before school ends like we had wanted to, so we are going to work backwards of what we normally do from west to east instead of east to west, so that we can hopefully get a good part of it done before school starts and get that going. So that should be happening soon, I hope, on Hammond Road. I know this isn't, and that obviously directly involves you at the airport, because as with most large-scale local projects, we have a scheduled detour. And you guys may remember that we wanted to do some upgrades to Town Line Road. The board was involved in that with a resolution of support, but it required the buy-in from the townships around it, as we aren't able to fund those types of projects. We didn't get that kind of support financially from the townships. So we moved forward with what we kind of called a Band-Aid repair, if you remember. It's better. You can drink a cup of coffee on the road now while you drink. It's better. But it is not to the point where we would be comfortable making it an official detour for a road with traffic like Hammond. So the detour will be South Airport Road coming in either direction to the airport from Garfield at 3 Mile, but we will be closing Town Line to through traffic. Not all traffic, just through traffic. So while Hammond is under construction, we don't want to see people heading to the airport, coming off of Hammond and driving on Town Line all the way there through. We want them to go around on the official detour, because we're trying to get as many months and years out of our fix as we could on Town Line, and we
Will you have that official detour published? Please give it to Autumn.
Yes.
We'll put it up on our website.
yes,
social media.
we happen to share the same communications company, so I love that for us. do that. So that is one thing to consider. Another thing I kind of had a quick talk with Bob about is, as you know, we are part of the MPO. The MPO is split between Leelanau County Road Commission, the City of Traverse City Streets Department, and the Grand Traverse County Road Commission, which means every 3 years, the County Road Commission here is up for the recipient of funds for the MPO project. The MPO project this year is for Traverse County. It's our year. It just rotates every 3 years. But unfortunately, due to the storms, we had to change our MPO project. It was Cass Road. And because of Wagner being closed through the season, we couldn't also close Cass Road for the obvious reason. So we are swapping with our partners, and another MPO project will be done this year, and Cass will be done next year, when hopefully everything is well and good and we're back open. But that was a project that was left over from prior to us becoming an MPO. Coming up in 3 years, our next time we're on the docket for an MPO funding round will be our first time we're starting from scratch. And I, along with many people, would love to see South Airport Road in front of the airport between 3 Mile and Garfield be considered for the MPO project. It needs to be widened. We probably can't purchase enough land and homes to widen it to match South Airport, but it could have a good curb and gutter project. Bob kind of knows about that, and we would love to see some support for that area getting MPO dollars. I think the MPO project needs to be regional in nature, and our airport is regional in nature. So I'm hoping about that this evening. And the last thing is, you guys are the first to hear it. We're just writing the press release for it now. But the state of Michigan heard all of our pleas and has moved up the Beitner Bridge project to the July letting, instead of waiting until the end of August. So what that means is we are still on the same timeline that we had originally put out. We were hoping to have this at the latest as a Christmas gift for all of us, but maybe even opening day of deer season gift, sometime between there. So that was great, and we want to thank all of our legislators and local elected officials that helped us with letters of support and getting MDOT to move us forward. That's it.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments from the public? If not, are there any board member comments?
We've talked about this before, and I think it's time to look into the true cost of like live streaming our meetings.
Yeah, we are. We're actually due. We have costs coming in. Matt Kern just provided some information. We will have something to present for them.
I didn't hear it. Cost on what?
Live stream. Yeah, it's been, we have some stuff that we need to work through. I'm hearing it's clearly a priority, so yes, we'll make some stuff happen.
Kick the can down the road long.
I agree.
Yep. No, we're on it. We're working on it. We've met with the team. We just don't have all the.
The July possibly.
Yep.
Or, that's what I'm hearing. How about that? That's what we heard also.
Are there any other member comments?
I just want to say to the staff, as you're heading into the busy season, giddy up. I hope things are smooth for you, but thanks for all your hard work in the extra busy season.
Mr. Chairman, just 10 seconds if I will. I want to be a little more than a footnote in this meeting, that the diligence of our staff and Kevin at the lead saved the airport, the passengers, the taxpayers that own it, over $1 million. And just like, in the passenger bridge, like, that's it. It's a footnote, and he gets, we get criticism about salary ranges. It's like, this is a footnote in 1 week of their work. And this is an awesome crackerjack team. I mean, they are just out of sight, knocking it out of the park. And I just want to applaud you and thank you. And I didn't want it to go unnoticed that just a random thing during the week saves everybody $1 million. And this isn't an isolated event, so thank you.
Thank you, Rob. All set. Any other board member comments? If not, we are adjourned at 4:05.
Good afternoon.
I got work to do.